So I just completed a cruise on board Carnival Cruise Line's newest and first ever Italian style cruise ship. And even though this is hands down the most beautiful cruise ship within Carnival Cruise Line's fleet, there are a couple things I want to talk about. Some things you will find extremely interesting, while others potentially problematic. In this objective and thorough review, I'm going to be going over three primary metrics. Of course, the general information about Carnival's newest Italian ship, the Carnival Venezia, as well as my entire experience from top to bottom, talking about the good, the bad, and ugly of this brand new ship, as well as the interviews and conversations that I had with the passengers on board. As many of you know, I do try to talk to at least 100 people about the ship while I'm on board every single cruise ship. And for all of you Carnival lovers, you very important fun people out there, I hate to say this, but you can love a cruise line, a cruise ship, without loving every single aspect of it and every single product. So as usual, you are going to have to, of course, suck it up on this one. Now let's begin. The ship that I sailed on, the Venezia, was built in the year 2018 and set to be the largest ship within the fleet of an Italian cruise line known as Costa Cruises, catering to the Asian market. However, due to the COVID pandemic, the Venice, Italy themed cruise ship sat in limbo. In 2022 was then transferred to Carnival Cruise Line, refurbished, and well, here we are. The Venezia has now joined Carnival's Vista class, has 14 decks, holds 4,200 passengers, and costs $780 million to build. The cost of my cruise would be $2,400 for a 4-day sailing out of New York City with one stop in a cove balcony stateroom. This of course would include all of the port fees and taxes, tips or gratuities, as well as $200 of onboard credit. And prior to the cruise, I would also pay $180 for Carnival's drink package known as the Cheers package, as well as $75 for premium Wi-Fi. On the first day of the cruise or embarkation day, things overall went smoothly. However, there are two things that I want to point out when it comes to taking a cruise out of New York City. First of all, of course, it is advisable to arrive to the city in which you're sailing out of at least one day prior to your cruise. Just keep in mind that while you can find pretty inexpensive flights to New York, if you plan on staying in Manhattan, in which you are sailing out of, then, well, the hotels are going to be pretty pricey. And when I say pricey, I mean extremely expensive. Be prepared for that. And also, even if you buy the drink package for your cruise, you will have to pay for every single drink that you take on the first day due to unfortunate laws that are taking place over in New York. I thought that was a little strange, but hey, who am I to complain? This would be my first time taking a cruise out of New York City. Now, when I worked for Norwegian Cruise Line, this was my home port, so I was very familiar with the area, and I want to say as a passenger, things were extremely structured and organized. There were obviously a lot of people sailing on board the Carnival Venezia. It looks like it was at full capacity. However, from start to finish, I want to say from getting out of the terminal on board the cruise ship, it took anywhere between 15 to 20 minutes, so not too long. Once I arrived on board, I was in complete shock at how beautiful the Carnival Venezia was. If you've only sailed on board a Carnival ship, and I would argue really any other ship outside of Carnival Cruise Lines, with the exception of maybe the Celebrity Beyond, you will be blown away. Trust me when I tell you, I don't think there is an argument here. This is hands down the most beautiful Carnival ship you will ever see. After taking a quick gander around, I would then head to my stateroom. My cove balcony cabin would be located on deck 2. This is the lowest set of balconies that you can book on board this specific ship, so it's nice and low to the water. The room was pretty nice. It was, of course, very functional, very elegant to some degree. However, I would say as far as the tech in the room, from the outlets, there aren't a lot in there. There are no plug-in outlets near the beds. There are a couple USB ports and two outlets that you can plug in over by the mirror in the desk area. It just didn't provide a lot of functionality for it to be a brand new cruise ship. The room itself was beautiful. The beds were extremely comfortable, and well, there was no rust or anything crazy like that. The bathroom was extremely nice. I just wish they put a little bit more tech into the room to kind of make it up to, I want to say, modern times. I would then responsibly check into my muster station located on deck 3 forward at the Marco Polo restaurant. After that, I was free to explore the ship. Looking around, like I said, this ship is very beautiful, very elegant in its own right, something you wouldn't typically see for Carnival. I would also speak to the interior designers of the ship, very beautiful, classy ladies from Miami. I won't mention their name, but they told me that all of this is kind of like a trial run to see exactly how the Carnival folk would handle a ship of this elegance and pristine condition. This, of course, with no disrespect to any of the Carnival crowd, but we do know, especially doing a 4-day sailing, a short sailing, a booze cruise, if you will, like this, people tend to get rowdy, which I will explain later on in the video. But just looking around, I will say, like I said, there was a lot of restaurants. There was just beauty all over the ship when it came to the Lido deck and even the back deck. I will say, overall, in the venues as well, things were somewhat tight on board that ship for the capacity that the ship could hold. When we got to the sail away party, for example, my personal favorite with Carnival Cruise Line, they couldn't exactly do a show. It was more so like a half sail away party. Typically, they have it over by the Lido deck. That is not big enough to accommodate all of the passengers, all 4,200 passengers. So they had to reroute it to the aft or back of the ship. And even then, it was so crowded that they had to cut the sail away party short. That part, I unfortunately, well, I was disappointed. Do keep in mind that this was the first revenue sailing, meaning the first sailing with paying passengers, since this ship had been built. So naturally, I always say that if you guys are going to jump on an inaugural sailing, a maiden voyage, if you will, you have to be prepared to essentially be the guinea pig as everything has to get worked out. Because looking at the environment of the ship, there were clearly a lot of kinks that need to be worked out. Like I said, the ship was absolutely packed. I do wish the capacity was a little bit lower considering the size of the ship. However, it did also look like things were somewhat overstaffed in the bar category, as myself as well as many others did unfortunately have to wait up to 30 minutes just to get one drink due to the excessive lines, and this followed up with the entertainment and everything as well, which I'll explain later on in the video. The food was good as usual, however I do believe it did kind of rhyme with the understaffing, as it seemed like a lot of the things were just simply rushed. Typically, if you go on, let's say, another Carnival ship like the Mardi Gras or Celebration, XL class, or any of the other Vista class, the food is usually brought in a timely manner, and it does look decent as far as the presentation. You did have to wait a while whether you wanted to get some guys burgers or if you went into any of the specialty dining options, which again, like I said, is understandable completely for a brand new ship that has to work out all of its kinks. However, I did hear a lot of complaints. I had nothing really to say personally, but I will say that some of the things did take a little long, and for that reason, there were a lot of places that unfortunately I didn't really get to try as far as the restaurant venues. Of course, I did try the seafood shack. The buffet itself didn't look too appetizing to me. I went to their new restaurant. I hope I don't butcher this too bad. Viego. It was pretty good. Unfortunately, that day I had been eating a little too much. I had two guys burgers that day. Big mistake, but the food there was good. The presentation of the restaurant as far as the aesthetics looked absolutely great, and overall the food there was pretty good. And of course, they had my favorite pizza over there. It was Pirate Pizza. However, they did give it another name. I forgot the name of it. I believe it was Pizzeria del Capitano. Pretty good, and without a doubt one of the most popular spots to get a somewhat quick meal on board. Getting to my favorite category, the entertainment. As usual, Carnival entertainment wise it's pretty decent. I wouldn't put them in a category obviously as like a premium line like Celebrity or even Royal Caribbean, but you can tell they are definitely stepping their game up as far as the quality of entertainment they are bringing on board. I personally like the shows that they have there, the production shows, as well as the singers and musicians that they brought in. I know a couple of them from the Carnival Celebration. It wasn't bad, and it seemed like everybody was really liking the environment on board. I also want to point out with the environment, side note here, something happened on board the ship that I have never seen before on any other Carnival ship. They had a dog, a canine drug sniffing dog living on board. I hate to go completely in the opposite direction here, but I know it's something a lot of people were curious about. Hearing the word on the street, as many of you know, I'm a very, very social person. A lot of people felt like it was a little bit too much. They felt like they were essentially in prison. They couldn't go to the smoking area. They couldn't smoke a cigar. They couldn't go to really any part of the ship without seeing a dog at some point just kind of sniffing around, and then potentially being questioned if the dog sniffed something weird or whatever the case may be. Personally, I don't feel any way about it. I'm a little indifferent with it. Carnival, do what you got to do, but a lot of people feel if they paid their money, they shouldn't have to worry about something such as that. But of course, let me know your thoughts on that in the comment section below. The nightlife was great as usual with Carnival Cruise Line. There were a couple moments here and there that were a little hostile during the evening hours, but of course, you got a lot of people that get the Cheers package, and well, they may not know their alcohol tolerance, and they're very sensitive since they believe they paid their money. They want to have the time of their life. One situation happened, a girl, it was her birthday apparently, and I guess another girl disrespected her, and then that ended up being a situation. But overall, everybody seemed to get along, and they partied hard as usual to true Carnival fashion, having fun on the fun ships. A big gripe when it comes to the nightlife and just drinking in general, myself and many others included, would be the availability when it comes to the alcohol and drinks on board. During the day, yeah, there was a decent amount of lines. Many believe, myself included, that it was just a little bit of understaffing in the bartender area. They weren't ready for 4,200 passengers. But when the evening hours came, a lot of the places would close up. The atrium would close, I believe, at 11. The piano bar closed, depending on the day, between 11 and midnight. The casino has no bar. And from my understanding, this is my first Vista class ship. Apparently, this is a thing on all of Vista class ships. I think that's personally a mistake because you can only call over the waiter to get the drinks. And I don't gamble, the house always wins. But I did go over there twice to sit down and see how long it would take. The first time took 32 minutes, and my second drink, well, they forgot about it, and I got it 49 minutes later. You go to the nightclub, well, they only have one makeshift bar over there, and there is a massive line, so you're going to be sitting there for quite a while trying to get a drink while missing all the festivities during everything in the nightclub area. My suggestion, at least for the nightclub, would be to, in the Limelight Lounge, have at least two of those makeshift areas, one in each corner. That way everybody can get their drinks a little bit faster and continue enjoying themselves. We did have one port of call, one stop, one island, and one of my favorite places to be at, Bermuda. However, unfortunately, something that I realized with Carnival is that they don't spend a lot of time often in the ports of call. For this cruise, we were set to be there from 8 until 3 in the afternoon. There was Liberty of the Seas of Royal Caribbean also in port with us that day. Unfortunately, we had some inclement weather, and that obviously is not Carnival's fault at all. But just a short time over in the port, it didn't give a lot of time to really do much of anything, especially for those people out there that are partying every single night. You got a choice. You got to have balance when it comes to these cruises, especially these shorter cruises, these 4-day cruises that we have out here. And well, it just was a little unfortunate to me. I wish Carnival did extend that time a little bit, as I was on the Luminosa, its other Italian ship that isn't Italian themed, and it was the same thing when I was over in Alaska. I wish Carnival just kind of stepped it up in that category just a little bit. Overall, I will say that I had a great time. I got to hang out with Christine Duffy again. I met so many amazing people, whether it be passengers or crew, and well, it was definitely an unforgettable experience. Do I like 4-day cruises? Well, not really. I don't really care much for the shorter cruises because, unfortunately, it is impossible to do everything on board that you want to do. Go to all the restaurants, check out all the entertainment, and well, I next time I think if I go on that ship, because I do believe I will go back, especially after all the kinks are worked out, to see what's changed on that ship, and well, I guess we'll see. I do hope you guys found this video informative to some degree. Like I said, short sailing, so it's hard to check out every other aspect. I do hope that you got at least a little bit of value out of this. Of course, if you did, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already. I do have more cruises, well, a lot more cruises coming up on pretty much all the brand new ships coming out in the world, so all the more reason for you to subscribe. I appreciate all of you guys. I love all of you, and well, I'll see you later. Take it easy.